All right, a few of you got called in because you struggled on this test that was on the kinetic theory. It's just 5 questions, but they're important questions. They're similar to the first 5 questions on your test. The ones on your test are actually a little easier because they're not multiple select, but they're multiple choice. So let's make sure we got number 1. Which of the following are true statements about the kinetic theory of matter? So this question refers to our first lab book and this current lab book. The first one says matter is in constant motion. That is one of the main tenets of the kinetic theory, so that is a yes. That is true. This one says the speed of particles decreases as the temperature increases. So this one is a no, and the reason why is because temperature is just a measurement of the speed. So these are connected. They have to do the same thing. So if the speed decreases, the temperature would have to decrease as well. So these can never be opposite in the kinetic theory of matter, or they are a no or an untrue statement. All right, particles of matter have spaces between them. You may recall from the first lab book that that is a yes. We said that matter is made up of mostly empty space, and that's the space between the particles. All right, all matter is made up of particles. That is a true statement according to the kinetic theory. The kinetic theory of matter basically says that all matter is made up of small individual particles that are in constant random motion. You can find that in your chemistry lab book. All right, the particles of a gas have more energy than the particles of a solid. More energy means they have a higher temperature. A gas of the same substance certainly has a higher temperature than a solid of the same substance, so that is true. Then this next one, the properties of a gas. If you remember, this is from this lab book. You can look on page 2 or 3 where we had that table, and we summarized the properties of gases. These are just from that. So anytime it says medium, that would be a property of a liquid. So let's go ahead and say no on those. All right, high temperature, that is correct. Gases of the 3 states are the highest temperature. Density is like how many particles there are in a given unit of volume. And a gas, as we know, we can travel through a gas, or a balloon, if it hits us, it doesn't really hurt. So it has a low density. So we would put no. And then here's the low density, so we put yes. Lots of space between particles. That's the same thing as saying it has a low density. If there's a lot of space between the particles, then there's not very many particles in a given unit of volume, so it will be a low density. All right, low number of atoms in a given volume. That's just a fancy way, again, of saying the word density, so that is a yes. And then this is the opposite, so that would have to be a no. So you can check all these there on page number 2 or 3 and figure that out. Next, we have liquid, so this will be easier. Every time we have a liquid, we're looking for the word medium, so it'll be these 2, and then none else will be a liquid. So just tie the word liquid and medium together, and you should be really good to go on those. All right, solid, so these will be the opposite of our gases, and none of the mediums, so let's get no for the mediums. All right, high temperature, we are going to say no. Solids are the coldest. Like a piece of ice is much colder than some steam coming off of your mac and cheese. High density, that would be yes. That's why solids are very hard. They have a lot of things given, or particles in a given volume. Low density, that's a no. We just said they have high. Lots of space, that would be no, because if they had lots of space, that'd be a gas, or if they have lots of space, that would mean they have a low density. Low number of atoms in a given volume, that is also a non-true statement. So they must have a high number of atoms. And please try to remember, if you need to, pause it and write in your notes that a high number of atoms in a given volume is the same as the word density. We wrote that in our lab book, so hopefully that's something you can remember. All right, then hardly anyone got this wrong, but if the number of particles per milliliter increases, and remember this is density, what would occur according to the kinetic theory of matter? All right, so if this is increasing, then we're not going to stay constant. The relative speed would increase. Oops, I didn't mean to select it. I'm used to the no's. I'll select the right one here. This doesn't say anything about the temperature changing. Doesn't say anything really about the space increasing. That would be the density would increase. Now, if C said decrease, that would be correct as well. And I have no idea why the fonts are different sizes, but all right, the relative density would increase if the particles per milliliter increased as well, because once again, this means density. All right, looks like I missed one on number 3. All right, you were probably watching better than I was and noticed when I was saying yes, I was clicking on the no box. But anyway, number 3 we got right. I just am an idiot and I clicked the wrong side. So anyway, take that for what it is and then do these next few questions.